Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be explaining why people compare War Thunder and DCS. Ironically, we're going to be comparing both games at the same time. Also, small note, this has nothing to do with really gameplay, just put some B-roll footage in the back. So if you want to play this in the background while you're playing a game, by all means, it's not gameplay-oriented video. Anyway, let's continue. But if you like this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We're almost at 15,000 subs, so I'd really appreciate it. And tell me in the comments down below, what is your favorite game, War Thunder or DCS, or both? Personally, I prefer both. They're two different games in my opinion, and they both feel different. Now, let's get into the video. Now, why do people compare War Thunder to DCS? They're both vastly different games, right? Well, the most simple answer to that is both have modern jets. You know, DCS has an F-16C, War Thunder has an F-16C. Humans just naturally tend to do that. They just naturally tend to compare stuff like that. It's just how it is. But what people also naturally do is group up. Now, there's a large portion of DCS players and War Thunder players that just generally hate each other. And then there's a small portion who actually enjoy both games, me included. I really don't care. I mean, both games are fun, right? To give an example, I play DCS to have a realistic, fun, simulated environment. I play War Thunder to turn my brain off, put YouTube on, and shoot down a bunch of jets. But why do people compare both these games when they're vastly different? Well, again, it has to do with, well, both have the same aircraft and stuff. Both could be considered a simulator, although War Thunder I don't really consider to be a simulator at all. DCS just simulates, you know, wind physics, turbulence, flight performance. It does all that just 100 times better. Now, in terms of weapons, both games have weird situations with how realistic their weapon systems are, right? Now, in terms of like ballistics, like the Vulcan, I'd say both War Thunder and DCS are pretty realistic. I would give it to DCS a little more just because the 20 millimeters actually do a lot more damage, or well, really any cannon does a lot more damage in DCS. But War Thunder, you can hit a guy with a 30 millimeter and he'll still be kicking. Not saying that's impossible. I mean, pilots like Royce Williams survive 37 millimeters from MiG-15s, right? It's not impossible, but I just feel like the ballistics are a little better in DCS. But in terms of missile performance, people say War Thunder has better countermeasures performance in terms of like, if you flare with your engine off, the missile's pretty much gonna miss, or if you're fighting RCCM missile, right? You dump a bunch of countermeasures, turn off your burner, the missile will miss. In terms of DCS, some people have stated that it's a chance system. You know, if you're pre-flaring, it might hit you if it's an AIM-9X, it might not, and they just put it up to chance. Don't know how realistic that is, tell me in the comments down below, but that's what I've heard. But generally, both games have working missiles, right? A lot of the stuff in both these games, which are super modern, have classified information on it, right? We're really never going to know how an AIM-120 is going to perform or how an R-77 is going to perform unless you're actually the one firing the missile or the one who actually made the missile. And that's pretty 99% of War Thunder DCS players have never even launched an AIM-120, right? DCS players tend to fighter pilots tend to make videos on DCS more and stuff like that, and they usually don't complain about the missiles, but in terms of like overall performance, we really don't know how these missiles perform. Yes, there's documents, but documents aren't 100%. You actually have to shoot the missile, test it, see how it performs. Essentially, you got to be a fighter pilot, right? So everybody's yapping like, oh, my missile's unbalanced, oh, this is unbalanced. It doesn't matter. It's a video game. And DCS is a simulator. So DCS should probably work on their missiles a little more than War Thunder. But I would say both are irrelevant, in my opinion, just because a lot of the stuff is classified. Same with the flight performance on the newer jets. But one thing War Thunder does have over DCS is its aircraft library and vehicle library. It just has far more vehicles that you can actually play. Whether those are realistic representations of the actual aircraft, it really doesn't matter because War Thunder is a video game. Now, I'm a sim YouTuber. I play a lot of War Thunder Sim, and I do some RB content. But War Thunder Sim is not a real simulator. It's close, but it's not. It's not a real. It doesn't simulate real air combat. Air EC. That's not how real wars work. That's not even close, right? It's a video game. DCS, you could set up more dynamic missions, you can make more realistic, you could pretty much recreate the exact same scenarios that happen in real life. Like if you wanted to make Desert Storm, you could technically recreate that with the same amount of SAMs and aircraft and everything, and the interlinked and data link, all that junk. DCS is just far more realistic in terms of how much stuff they actually add to the game that all work together, and it's a better combat simulator, right? War Thunder's flight performance, their models, they're cool, they work, they just don't feel real at all. The jets don't shake, they don't bob, they're super smooth. Yeah, they can, if you're flying with a mouse and keyboard, they can shake a little, but when you're pulling G's and stuff, these jets are shaking a lot. They're, you know, not only that, but when you black out in War Thunder, it should go completely black. DCS, it does that, War Thunder, it doesn't, and the DCS just simulates a lot more things that are super realistic. But War Thunder has more vehicles that you can actually fly in terms of World War II all the way to pretty much modern day. So that's really up to your interpretation, which one you actually prefer, but that's just how it is. In terms of LARPers in the community, both games have LARPers. I think War Thunder players have less of an excuse to be a LARPer though, just because a lot of the stuff isn't realistic at all, and people take it as the gospel, like, oh, this jet, I saw it do this in real life, so it should do this in game. Well, War Thunder, again, is not really a simulator. It advertises itself as a simulator or realistic, but it's really not. A lot of the flight models are gimped. A lot of them don't even represent the real aircraft. DCS gets very close. I've heard real Tomcat pilots talk about how the F-14, well, feels like the actual F-14 minus G-force and all that fun stuff, right? You never hear that about War Thunder. In terms of like the flankers, to be honest, their flight models feel very similar in DCS and War Thunder. They both suck. Go on a DCS server, right, with F-16Cs and flankers. It's going to be hell for you if you're flying the flanker. It's just how it is. Again, a lot of these flight models, you're not going to really know how they fly unless you're actually in the aircraft doing that. And DCS sometimes, you know, depends if Razbam or Heatblur's making the model, right? But, you know, Heatblur, they actually got in an F-15E and got to actually like feel how the jet works, and then they made it. Of course, a bunch of drama stopped them from working on the F-15E, but still. Now, in terms of reliability, in like just, are they going to release new stuff, or is the company going to fail, whatever, yada yada, I actually have more faith in War Thunder. DCS, just because they outsource a lot of their models, it's a little iffy. If you guys haven't heard, ED had a little bit of a drama situation with Razbam where the F-15E, apparently they weren't getting paid, and I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what Razbam's saying. So they stopped working on the F-15E. They updated the radar. As of now, I really don't know how the situation is, but just because of that alone, I lost a lot of trust in DCS's modules, because it's like, oh, you buy a module and then people could just stop working on it. Like, you spent $70, now it's gone. War Thunder, you'll have that model forever unless your account gets banned or whatever. So I have more, like, if I'm going to spend money in War Thunder, I know it's going to stay there for a while. DCS, they might just stop working on the jet that you have, and a lot of the jets in DCS aren't entirely finished. So, I mean, there's that, less reliability. That's a pretty big one. But if you look that aside, or just if you trust DCS, which mostly they are a trustful company, besides the Hawk module and the F-15E, and I'm pretty sure another module had a problem, but I can't remember. You look aside that, you look at their F-16 model, you look at their F-18 model, they're actually pretty darn good. Now, last but not least, I should have said this in the beginning of the video, but I'm not comparing like literally every single detail. These are just some of the ones that I personally thought were pretty cool to compare. But last but not least, playability. DCS, it takes a bit for you to get into combat unless you're doing a dogfight server, but if you want to be a full-on LARPer, it's going to take a while before you actually get to a combat zone, let alone shoot down an aircraft, unless you're playing Growlithe Sidewinder server, or even Enigma. Enigma is a pretty good representation, but again, those servers are designed for gameplay. But if you're actually doing like a real simulated air combat sort of deal. It's going to take a while before you even see combat. You might even not see another jet. You might be just doing air to ground while other people figure that out. In terms of War Thunder, it's pretty much you start the game, you play. You can go immediately into sim, you could go immediately into RB, and within the first 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to get a couple kills, right? Depends how good you are or whatever. So yeah, those are just some comparisons that I wanted to talk about. Tell me what you guys think about this in the comments down below. But tell me which game you guys think is better in the comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and take care, guys. Also, I probably missed some other comparisons. You could put them in the comments down below. I might make a part 2 to this video, but we'll see. Anyway, take care and stay safe, guys.